experts. So I want to take a lot of time to answer questions. And I think what we'll do is we'll walk through, I'll tell you a little bit about how the exhibition is organized, point out some details, some nice places you might want to stop and discuss things with your visitors, but also I'm sure questions have come up as you've been doing your own research. And as you look closely at the pages, now that they're all here, you'll find that you discover more and more details. And I encourage you to take the initiative and do some of your own research. Like today, I was noticing that all of the Egyptian hieroglyphs in the background were probably representative of specific gods. And so I started looking up Egyptian gods, and I think I was able to make some connections between what's happening in the scene and what Egyptian gods Szyk was recognizing in the images, because I think that we know his art historical knowledge was so great that these things, every detail is intentional. So if you discover something that interests you, share it with other docents, with the visitors, with me, do some research. So we'll start, we're here in the entryway, and we have two kind of introductory panels. This one here right in front of us is the general introduction to the exhibition that talks about the Haggadah a little bit and why the Szyk Haggadah. And then here is the biographical information about Arthur Szyk. So these are really general introductions that just kind of set the basis for the exhibition. And I think we should just move right in. The wall color. So the wall color was very intentionally selected by us. I think some of you were lucky enough to come down into art storage and see some original paintings before they were framed, and you may remember that the 1940 vellum edition of the Haggadah came in a clamshell case. Well, this blue was matched as closely as possible to that clamshell case. So this gallery is the case holding the Haggadah pages. Come on in. We start with the very first page, the dedication page to King George here. And everything reads from right to left, like a Hebrew book. And all of the pages are in order of the 1940 edition. When Urban Ungar republished the Haggadah in 2008, he changed the order a little bit. But this is the original order. And the final page is that one right there of King David.
But the King George wasn't, the dedication was not in the front of 1940.
It was, and we actually have, so in this case, I'll try not to walk you back and forth too much, but just to get an overview. This case here has all of the more recognized versions of the Haggadah. So we have two copies of the 1940 version, one closed so you can see the intricate binding, and then one opened to the frontispiece. And so, it's not the King, it is the French one, you're right. The King George is on the front side.
Does anybody remember that?
I thought he didn't ended up including it in
The King George is absolutely in this book.
not the King
It's
George
in the
stuff.
book, but I thought he said Unger moved it to the front. He wasn't placed in the front.
Oh yeah, this is not the Ungar version. This is the Ungar
Right, but
version.
I thought you said this was in the order of the 1940 version, but the dedication wouldn't have been.
Yeah, the dedication is on the front page of this one. You can look, yeah, it's on, see, this isn't the very first page.
Oh, maybe it's
It's on the silk. It's on the. It's on the
No, there's a silk
on the-
case down, but
it's on
it's
the-
on the back of this page.
And do we have the silk on the inside? Anything? Of
We
that?
have, yes, that drawing is in that case.
Oh, the black and white.
So you can see, so And then, since we're talking about dedication pages, all of the other dedication pages that did not make it into the Haggadah are here in this case. So these cases are all supplementary materials that help to tell the story of the publication and show some of Szyk's working process. We have some additional drawings that we looked at before of Moses striking the Egyptian in the Exodus, and so you can see the progression up to what is now hanging on the walls. This is another study, I suppose you could say, that was done for either a frontispiece. We don't really know where Szyk intended this drawing of King David to go, but we can tell that it matches the style of the Haggadah and was done in the time when he was thinking of publishing the Haggadah. And we know, just a little detective clue, is that this graph paper is the same that was used for another drawing in there that is a title page for the Beaconsfield Press, so we know that Szyk was working on these drawings when he was living in London and working towards publishing the book. You can do a lot of detective work through the paper and through the styles, and you can see it all come together when you have it all in one place and laid out like this. So I also encourage you to make those connections.
Is there anything about the black and white aspect to it? I mean, was it not finished, or
I
do you
think
he just...
No, I think it just was probably either another idea for the silk paste down, or maybe it was a drawing for an etching on the cover. I think it's finished.
This one says it was done in 1936, and wasn't it the Jews of Lvov that helped him get it published?
Yes.
But that would have been later than that, so he had some kind of connect. I guess he had a connection. Oh, they were the ones that supported. Yeah, they supported
And
him
then they
all.
helped put it all across.
Right. And you can see in those two dedication pages, he includes a self-portrait, identifying with the people and making himself a part of the dedication.
Yeah. And so this one is, I was looking at it, it's not the original, and the original is just gone, and that's it? And
That's it.
Wow.
What did he print it from?
It said its image was digitally captured from a single known 1940 publisher's proof.
I don't know.
Maybe you sold it.
Right. Irv is the master keeper of all of that information,
And by the way, everybody, Irv is willing to come back, and after we kind of get started, if there are more questions or if we want to work with him in the gallery, Irv is willing to come back and, you know, do a little bit for us. I just want to think about the best way to use his time.
And I would encourage that if you have a lot of time, he will tell you about every single piece in much detail. And I'm happy to talk about details in some of these things as well. I can point out some of the things that I discovered. I was talking about the Egyptian gods. And here we have in this image, if we were slaves to Pharaoh, Szyk depicts the Israelite slaves as artists, which is maybe another way of inserting his autobiography into the pages. I think he thought of himself, I think, as an artist slave for justice, that he was tied to this task and had to work towards this cause. And interestingly, the slave is painting a hieroglyph or an image of Horus, who was seen as the protector of the leaders of Egypt. So not only are the Israelites enslaved, to add insult to injury, they're forced to paint homage to their captor.
What was the name of the character?
Horus.
Horus. Who was the what?
He was the god who is the protector of the Egyptian royalty or leaders. And so another thing that's really nice that you can see in all of the originals are some details about the process. And they're in the frontispiece drawing over at the beginning. If you look closely, you can see through the paper that there on the back side there's a rectangular image that's coming through to the front. And I think I mentioned before that when Szyk was creating this Haggadah, he was impoverished. He was making a living illustrating other books and getting commissions, but this was his life's work. This was his passion project. And he didn't always have money to go out and buy watercolor paper, to go out and buy supplies. And so the paper used for all of these drawings is different, and it's really just scrap paper. It's what he could get his hands on. And so you can see the frontispiece that probably it was a title page torn out of a book that he had around his home, and he just found the blank side of the page and painted on the back of it. Here in the Four Sons, you can see that this wicked son is cut out and pasted back in. You can see that it's two pieces of paper.
And did Irv share with you his theory about that?
Yes. So Irv's theory is that there were swastikas painted into many places in the Haggadah. And I think it's a very good theory and an educated guess that Szyk had such a hard time publishing the book because it was so overtly anti-Nazi, and no one was willing to take that risk to publish that book. So in the end, he had to self-censor to be able to publish it, but he had to publish it himself anyway. So there are moments like here where Irv thinks probably on that bandana there was a swastika painted in originally. And then in another image, which is down there, I think, have you all read Freedom Illuminated, the essay? Irv talks about x-raying the image and finding a swastika in the breastplate. And we were lucky enough, while we're on this topic.
Wait, on the breastplate of what?
Of Pharaoh over here. This image.